good day to you and welcome to Codex English. Thank you for joining me. My name is Mike Bullen and you are watching Newsflash, which is the series in which we learn English together using 3 of the world's biggest news headlines of the week. So, with that said, let's check out the news. Well, our first story of the day brings us to the BBC News website, so let's see what the headline has to say today. Okay, so the headline reads, Belarus migrants. Poland PM blames Russia's Putin for migrant crisis. All right, so the first word I want to have a look at today is this one here, which is a noun, migrant, migrant. A migrant is a person who travels to different places, usually to look for work. There we are, a migrant. Okay, so the article, let's have a look. So we can see that the migrants here from Belarus, they are trying to cross the border into Poland. All right, so let's have a look at a paragraph from the article and see what we can learn here. So here is our first paragraph of the video in language focus mode, so let's read through. Video footage shows crowds of people on the Belarusian side of a barbed wire border fence with Poland. Some try to force their way through using bolt cutters, tree trunks, and group force, while Polish guards fend them off with what appears to be tear gas. Okay, as you can see, there are many nouns here for us to learn. So let's have a look at this first one here. We've got video footage. Video footage. Footage is a noun, and this is simply video of an event. Video footage of an event. Okay, there we are. So the video footage shows crowds of people on the Belarusian side of a barbed wire border fence. Okay, right then, so barbed wire. Barbed wire is usually a noun, 2 separate words, and barbed wire is wire that has very sharp pieces on it, and it is normally used to build security fences so you cannot easily climb. If you try to climb it, you will probably cut your fingers or arms. You will definitely injure yourself if you do not have some sort of protection on. So, barbed wire fences. Okay. So, a barbed wire border fence with Poland. Some try to force their way through using bolt cutters. Bolt cutters. So, bolt cutters, a noun. This is a type of tool used for cutting, you got it, bolts, and also wire as well, strong wire. So you could use bolt cutters to cut through the barbed wire fence if you had a pair, which apparently these migrants do. Okay, so they've got some bolt cutters here. They were also using tree trunks and group force. Okay, group force is a noun. Group force. This is simply a group of people who are trying to force their way into or force their way through something using force as a group of people. There we are. Okay, so they were using group force while Polish guards fend them off with. Okay, so we've got ourselves a phrasal verb now. Fend off. Fend off. You see? Okay, so phrasal verb, this means to successfully defend yourself against people who are attacking you. So if you fend off attackers, then this would simply mean that you have defended yourself successfully and the attackers are leaving, or you have escaped. So you are okay. You fended off the attackers, okay? Here's an example sentence. Last night, while walking home from work, Louise Evil Slayer had to fend off several zombies. Okay, so back to the article. Here we go. So while Polish guards fend them off with what appears to be tear gas. Tear gas. Tear gas is a noun here, and this is often a substance used by police and military forces that makes your eyes water, makes your eyes fill with tears, and the feeling in your eyes is like burning. So police often use this substance to control large crowds of people. There we go. Tear gas. Nasty stuff. Nasty stuff. There we are. So that was the first article of the day there. So essentially we've got a description of people from Belarus, the migrants, trying to cross the border into Poland using some tools such as bolt cutters, tree trunks, and they are also in groups and they are trying to force their way through the border here. And the Polish guards are trying to fend them off, trying to stop them getting into Poland. Okay, there we are. That was the first story of the day. Let's check out the second story. Right, story number 2 brings us to AP News' website. So let's have a look at the headline on their website. Okay, so the headline reads, Pakistan hosts US, Russia, China for talks on Afghanistan. Okay, pretty simple. However, let's just check this verb here. We've got host. Host, okay? So if you are hosting, you host something, it means that you provide the place and the buildings and facilities, all the things that are needed for an event to take place. It means that you provide these things for the event. You are the host, which means you host the event. Okay, so looking at the headline again, Pakistan is the host, which means that that is the country in which the other countries go in order to meet. So US, Russia, and China, they have gone to Pakistan and they are meeting there for talks on Afghanistan. That's the reason they went. Okay. All right, so let's have a look into the article. There we go. We've got ourselves a picture here. Okay, so into language focus we go. So here's the paragraph from the article in language focus mode. So let's have a read through. Pakistan on Thursday hosted talks with special envoys from the United States, Russia, and China on the path forward for Afghanistan, where a deepening humanitarian crisis has forced many Afghans to migrate to neighboring countries since the Taliban takeover in August. Okay, so we've got a mix of vocabulary here. We have some nouns, ADJ, and a verb in there. So let's have a look at this first one. Pakistan on Thursday hosted talks with special envoys. Envoy, envoy. This is a noun and it is somebody who represents their government or their country. So in this case, the envoys have been sent to Pakistan from the US, Russia, and China. So the American, Russian, and Chinese envoys have been sent to Pakistan to talk about Afghanistan. They are discussing what's going to happen with Afghanistan. Okay, there we are. So, and China on the path forward for Afghanistan, where a deepening humanitarian crisis. Okay, so we've got two adjectives together here. So let's have a look at deepening first of all. Okay, so if something is deepening, it means that it's growing or becoming greater, bigger, or more so, okay? And of course it can also just mean going deeper as well and closer to something. So deepening there, okay? Here's an example sentence. Danny Sugar King can no longer control his deepening desire for Battenberg cake. Okay, so that was the first ADJ in the article. Let's go back to it. So we're deepening. And the second one, second adjective, humanitarian crisis. And crisis is the noun. So we have two ADJs before the noun here. Okay, so humanitarian. This can be an ADJ or a noun. So a humanitarian is a person who works to help people and make their lives better. So humanitarian as an ADJ refers to anything that is helping humans and people to live better lives. Humanitarian. So in this sentence, a deepening humanitarian crisis. It means that the crisis is becoming worse in this sentence here. The humanitarian crisis, so it's affecting lots of people's lives, it's becoming worse. It's becoming worse, okay? So, crisis has forced many Afghans to migrate. Okay, there we are. So this verb here is for the noun migrant. You remember that word from the first story earlier? Yeah, so to migrate is to simply move to different places, and again, like we discussed before, usually to try to find work. Okay, there we go. So, has forced many Afghans to migrate to neighboring countries since the Taliban takeover in August. Okay, it's a noun. Takeover. Takeover. So a takeover is the act of taking over something, which means to gain control of something. Okay? So in this sentence here, the Taliban takeover. Okay? So it means the Taliban took control of Afghanistan in August. Okay, there we are. So that was the second story of the day. Shall we move on to the third and final story? Yes, we shall. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Well, I do believe that brings us to our third and final story for today's video. So it brings us to Reuters news website. So let's have a look at the headline then. Here we go. Okay, so the headline here reads, UN climate talks drift into overtime in push to save 1.5 Celsius goal. All right then, so more COP26 news. So the first word we'll look at is this verb here, to drift, to drift. Okay, so if something drifts into something, it generally means to move into an unplanned situation, something that they did not plan to happen. Okay, so in this case here, in this sentence, the climate talks drifted into what? Into overtime. Overtime. So this just means extra time. It's a noun. Overtime, extra noun. So the climate talks drifted into overtime. So they did not plan for this to happen. In fact, they wanted to have finished already by now, but they need extra time, so they drifted into overtime. Okay. All right then, here we are. So let's dive further into the article and find ourselves a paragraph to explore in language focus mode. Here we go. So let's read through it. 2 weeks of UN COP26 climate talks in Glasgow blew past a deadline on Friday as the conference president called on countries to make a final push to secure commitments that would rein in the rising temperatures that threaten the planet. Okay, right then, so now we've got quite a few words to have a look at in this one. So let's get started, shall we? We will begin with this phrasal verb here. So climate talks in Glasgow blew past, blew past, blew past, okay? So if you blow past something, it means that you move very quickly past that thing. So what is the thing that they blew past? It is a deadline. They blew past a deadline. So a deadline is a noun, and the deadline is simply the time or the date that you're supposed to have finished doing something by. Okay, so if you have to hand in an essay to your professor at university and the deadline is Friday at 3 p.m., well, you have to make sure you get your essay in by 3 p.m. on Friday, because that is the deadline, the final time for you to do that. Okay, so talks in Glasgow blew past a deadline on Friday as the conference president called on countries. Called on. All right, we've got another phrasal verb in here. Okay, so if you call on or call upon somebody to do something, it just means that you ask that person to do something for you. Okay, call upon somebody there. Okay, so the conference president called on who? Countries. He called on countries. So he's asking countries to make a final push. A final push, which is a noun. Okay, so a final push is the very last thing you do when you want to achieve a goal. It's the final push, the last effort that you will do to finish doing something. It's the final push. I'm nearly finished. This is the last step. The final push, okay? All right, so a final push to do what? To secure commitments. Right, so this verb here then, to secure something, means to simply get or attain something, to secure, okay? If you've secured something, you've got it. Done, okay, secure. So you could say the company secured the deal. You see? So they got the deal, it's finished. Secured, it's been secured. Okay, so secure what? To secure commitments. Commitments here. So a commitment is a promise to do something. And the verb for this is to commit to, which means that you will definitely try your best to do something and to finish something. You are committed. Okay, so that is a commitment, and you can make a commitment to somebody, which means that you promise to do something for that person. Okay, there we go. So to secure commitments, that would rein in the rising temperatures. Okay, we have got a phrasal verb. Wow, 3 phrasal verbs in one paragraph. Okay, so to rein in something means to control or limit something. To control or limit that thing. Okay, so in the sentence here, that would rein in the rising temperatures. So what it means here, they want to stop the temperatures rising too far. Okay, and if we look at the title of the article again, the headline, they want to save the 1.5 Celsius goal, right? So they want to limit how much warmer the planet becomes. So they need to rein in and control that number so that it doesn't go any higher. And they want to limit it so it doesn't go any higher. Okay, so there we are, to rein in the rising temperatures that threaten the planet. Okay, oh, that reminds me, I think I have an example sentence for rein in. Kelly Kippers has been desperately trying to rein in her spending on fish and chips. Good luck, Kelly. Well, there we have it. Another episode of Newsflash finished. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the 3 stories today. I feel we had a lot of phrasal verbs in today's episode, didn't we? Many phrasal verbs there. But phrasal verbs are very useful to learn as they can express a very special meaning in a very short time. So they are definitely useful to learn. Okay. Well, if you did enjoy this episode, please do consider giving it a like down here. And also do note that all the links to the articles featured in today's episode are also in the comments below, along with a list of all the key vocabulary featured in this video as well. There we are. So I do hope you have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you again in a future video of Newsflash with me, Mike Bullen, on Codex English. Cheerio.